Hey everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to Plants and Politics. I wanted to share with you, as part of their ongoing whistleblower series about corruption in our so-called government protection agencies, The Intercept is now reporting that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, prevented staff from warning the public that a widely used compound causes cancer. According to documents shared by these EPA whistleblowers, a chemical compound called PCBTF is a known carcinogen. In fact, the state of California requires that all products containing PCBTF must offer a cancer warning on the label. And the IARC, which is the International Agency for Cancer Research, has also determined that this is a cancer-causing chemical, that it's a human carcinogen. But when an EPA toxicologist cited this fact in a 2019 report about a paint product that had been submitted for approval, that this toxicologist was reviewing it, a senior leader removed that portion of this toxicologist report. They removed any mention of it being a known carcinogen, and including any mention of this compound itself. And this wasn't the first time that they said this agency leader did something like this. The whistleblowers say that this is the same person who pressured them on multiple occasions to omit evidence of toxic and dangerous chemicals found in products. Or this person just deleted the information from their reports, as they did in this instance. Not only did she delete, like I said, any reference of PCBTF and its cancer risk, but she actually went a step further. She wrote in the report herself, quote, "For the new chemical substance polymer, EPA did not identify a hazard." So she not only removed any mention that it was carcinogenic, but she actually said that they reviewed it and found no hazards. And get this, in regard to PCBTF, the EPA actually lists this cancer-causing substance as a green compound, quote unquote, green compound. Evidently, that's because it reduces ozone levels. So as compared to other solvents, which is what they deem this compound, it helps to reduce ozone levels. Yet, this PCBTF has never been reviewed for human safety under the Toxic Substances Control Act of 1976, because the product has been in use since 1960 or somewhere in the 1960s. So rather than them going back and assessing it, they just grandfathered this chemical in, and they allowed it to remain in products that are used by all of us on a regular basis. The Intercept says that this is still used in things like ink, caulk, cleaners, stain removal products, polyurethane finishes, primer, graffiti remover, paint for cars, steel and concrete, and garage floors. So you can imagine how many people are breathing this in on a regular basis. The toxicologist who performed the assessment on this paint had found numerous studies that were performed by non-EPA scientists, and they dated back several decades. So these independent studies linked PCBTF to tremors, hyperactivity, lung issues, and liver cancer in animals, and then also stomach and respiratory cancer in humans. But when he reached out, I believe it's a he, the toxicologist, reached out to his senior leadership, senior officials about his concerns in the department, basically he just received like condemnation. They had, no interest, just disinterested attitudes, essentially. One official literally threw a memo at the toxicologist and his colleagues, from their recollection, and told them to, quote, "read it, follow it." But the memo, they say, provides conflicting information about how to handle situations and solvents like this. And different scientists read the same thing and came to different conclusions. So it's totally unclear. How about you ask the public what we think? I vote we tell the truth. Tell everything you know and let us make the decision. I want to know what the risks are before a product that is being used everywhere, basically, comes on the market. I think that every person on the planet with functioning brain cells would agree. But the problem, according to EPA scientists, is that the agency is underfunded, and leadership's attitude, they say, is basically how little, can we get away with? How much can we get off of our plate? Like, let's just get this done. This is a life and death matter, and they're cutting corners so that they can just check off a to-do list and get stuff out of the way. Seriously? So The Intercept reached out to the head of the agency, to the EPA, and they told the journalists that basically they're working to reestablish integrity within the EPA now that the Biden administration has taken over. But think about how much has been allowed to slide. Think about how long this has gone on. This paint, for instance, is being used right now. And these whistleblowers aren't even allowed to tell us what it's called. They're not allowed to tell the public what this product is, even though they've brought this issue to the media and they brought it to the IG's office for review, but they can't tell the public what product to stay away from because of confidentiality issues. Think about that. That's like knowing that a bomb is going to detonate. You know that there's a bomb, you know where it is, and you're not allowed to tell anyone. You know that it's going to go off and there's going to be fallout, that a certain number of people are going to die as a result of that bomb. But you can't tell anyone. What the actual fuck? The journalist wrote, quote, if they had the knowledge that the new paint causes cancer, auto body and detailing shops, car manufacturers, as well as other companies and consumers might choose to use another one in its place. But the product is now commercially available without the warning that would give the public at least a chance to make that informed choice. And they say that the EPA takes years, literally years, to complete updated assessments on existing chemicals. So chemicals like this that have already been grandfathered in, it takes them, they said, over 3 years, roughly, to get through, to figure out whether or not it's safe and to whether or not it, complies with current safety standards and new scientific findings. They said that at this current pace, it would take the EPA over 7,000 years to review and assess the safety of the 40,000 plus chemicals that are already in use. And even if a manufacturer themselves determines that their product poses a risk and they go and they notify the EPA admits that they almost never notify us. They almost never tell us in the public. The article stated, quote, in the case of 1,240 chemicals that were the subject of substantial risk reports that manufacturers sent to the EPA since January 2019, the agency has failed to update its public database and has not even made the reports available through the computer systems most frequently used by chemical assessors. So their own data is not updated. The data that's used by their own assessors at the EPA is not updated with the new science and with new reports. It's unbelievable. And you're not going to believe when I tell you why. It's almost laughable. It's almost like a scene from a comical dystopian movie. And if it wasn't so literally deadly serious, it would be funny. According to the head of the EPA, there was one single person who was responsible for keeping that database updated, the public database. That person retired in December of 2018, and they don't have the funds to replace that person. Where did their salary go? Did it vanish? They obviously had the money to pay that person. You couldn't just replace them and give them the salary. This is what happens when you allow a sadistic lunatic like Trump into office. But I'm going to tell you, he's not entirely at fault. I will admit that, because this has been going on for a while. Why is it that we always have money to kill people? We always have money to destroy things, but we never seem to have the money to save and protect lives or to restore anything. The article said, oh, well, the Biden administration is trying to get more funding for this EPA program. They're actually asking for it in their 2022 budget. Why is it the 2022 budget? Why hasn't this been handled already? Why is it that we can pass exorbitant, obnoxiously oversized defense budgets to go kill people, to bomb people, often the wrong people, just to line the pockets of defense contractors, to line the pockets of their puppets in Congress? But things like this get delayed. They get swept under the rug. They don't give a damn about us, but yet they want the public to trust the government. They want us to accept everything they tell us as fact. We're supposed to trust the science, but they get to manipulate the science. They get to delete the science when it suits them. If the powers that be want to remain in power and they want the public to work with them on things like COVID and trust them, then they better start acting with ethics and principles. Things like this are not going to be forgiven or forgotten anytime soon. It's going to take decades to undo the damage that they're doing with things like this. You know, and people ask me all the time why I don't trust the government, why I don't trust the government agencies, the EPA, the FDA, all the alphabet soup. Well, you know, I give you exhibit number 5,000,001. Gee, I wonder why people don't trust them on COVID and vaccines. And yes, I know that's not the EPA's job, but you know what? Same stuff goes on in the FDA. Same stuff. They just don't care. There's no funding for the things that actually matter to us. Oh, well, you know, a few million people die of cancer because we had a checklist to get through. We had a to-do list that we had to check off. Really? Anyway, guys, I'll let you know when I hear more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.